We're very happy to have Kurt back as usual, and I wanted to let everyone know that we are very fortunate that we have a wonderful Friends of the Medfield Library group that funds all of our programs, just like having Kurt doing storytelling or a reptile program or a magic show. So I want to thank them and also remind everybody that they have a bookstore, a brand new bookstore behind us. And if anyone is interested in becoming a member of the Friends, we have sign-up sheets at the front desk. Thank you. Have fun.
I just got a new tail. Get it? A tail? Tail to tell? Right, see? That's what I meant. Let me get my water. By the time I'm done, it'll go around the chair quite a few times. We'll see. How's everybody doing? Thank you guys for coming to Storytelling. Is anybody having a good summer? Yeah. Oh, lots of hands up. Awesome. What do you think? What is somebody going to remember most about this summer? Has anything really exciting happened? You went to camp. Was it a day camp where you leave in the morning and you come home on the same day? Yeah. Do you remember the name of your camp? Discovery Camp. What was your favorite thing so far? You went to the Poconos. Nice. I was in the Poconos too. I went camping. Did you go camping? No. How about you? Went to Martha's Vineyard. What'd you do? You did too? Did you guys see each other? Oh, right. But did you see each other? Yeah. Okay, good. What was your favorite thing this summer? Everything. Everything. Good answer. How about you? You gonna say everything? Good. You guys are having a great summer. How about you? Was it your birthday this summer? Yeah. And where did you go? What, did you get to drive a car? Yes. Was that like a little go-kart? It was a kiddie track? Did it have like you push on the gas and whoa. I bet you're gonna remember that birthday, right? For a long time. You did? No. What'd you do? You had camp. And then you're going all week and then you'll be done? Okay. You like the camp? Yeah. Jordan, how about you? Went to Niagara Falls. I went to Niagara. Could you tell I went to Niagara Falls? Because what? You went with her. Oh, right. Maybe she went by herself. What'd you do, Rose? You have a favorite thing that happened to you this summer?
Well, today I played with my friend, and then like yesterday, I went to my auntie's.
Yeah.
And then like I came home and we came home at 1 in the morning.
Whoa.
I was already sleeping.
And did Dad pick you up and carry you in your house or Mom?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was always the best.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yes, we went to Niagara Falls. We stayed because part of it on the American side and another part of it is on the Canadian side. I highly recommend it. It was a great vacation. Beautiful, beautiful, and the water was just powerful. So if you haven't gone, put it on your list because we had a great time. I thought I would kind of stick with this summer theme because when I was a kid, it seemed like, for me, a lot of the great things or the unusual things happened to me during the summer. Yeah. So I want to tell you about this specific summer when I was a kid. I was about, I wasn't like a little kid. I was probably about 9 or 10. And maybe 11. And I just moved. I moved out of Boston and I moved out to a town. And I loved it because there was a swimming pool there, and I lived in these apartment complexes. And had a great time. I met lots of friends. And I met this girl whose name was Kim Hart. And it just so happened, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Luke? Yeah. Luke. Luke has a summer birthday, right? So this girl, whose name was Kim Hart, she had a summer birthday. It turned out that I befriended her that summer. And met lots of kids in the neighborhood. So Kim Hart had a birthday party. And it wasn't just a regular birthday party. She decided for her birthday that she wanted to go to an amusement park and bring some of her friends. The name of the amusement park was called Rocky Point. Parents might know, but it's no longer there. It was near the beach. It was up on these rocks. They called it Rocky Point. And so there was a beach, and then there was the amusement park. So you can go to either one in the same day, right? So I was crossing my fingers that I would get invited to Kim Hart's birthday party because I wanted to go to Rocky Point. Well, lo and behold, I was invited to Kim Hart's birthday party. I was so excited, so excited. So I went home and I told my mom, I said, Mom, Kim invited me to a party. I'm going to a party. She's like, all right, great, we'll get her a gift, and what are you gonna need? I said, well, I think I would like to get a new bathing suit because we're going to the beach. And I've never been to the beach before, right? So I left it at that. A couple of days later, my mom comes home from Sears and she got me a brand new bathing suit, a baby blue bathing suit. So I ran, put it on, came back downstairs. I was like, how's it look? She says, it looks great. I said, all right, this is going to be great for the party. But she still has something in the bag. I said, what else is in the bag? Well, out of the bag, she pulls out some flippers for my feet, baby blue flippers. So I was like, oh, flippers. I've always wanted flippers. So I put on the flippers. So now I have on my baby blue bathing suit and my baby blue flippers. This is great. But she still has something else in the bag. I said, you have more in the bag? And she said, yes. And she pulls out a mask, baby blue mask, scuba mask. So I take that and put it on. So now I have on my baby blue bathing suit, my baby blue flippers, and my baby blue mask. And she says, Kurt, I got one more thing in here. Give me 1 second and I'll answer your questions if they're questions. So she takes out of the bag, a snorkel. The snorkel can go into the mask, and you put the snorkel in your mouth, and you can what? Breathe. You can breathe under, well, yeah, you're underwater, but the snorkel goes out of the water, so you go. Now, I had never had any of these things before. But when I put them on, when I put everything on, I looked great. I went upstairs, I looked in the mirror. I looked fantastic. Baby blue bathing suit, baby blue flippers, baby blue mask, and my baby blue matching snorkel. I was all set to go to Kim Hart's birthday party. Now, here was the deal for her party. Her mom said she can invite as many kids that would fit into her big, giant Cadillac with the broken air conditioner, right? It's the middle of the summer. I believe her birthday was sometime in August. So, and it was during the week, right? Because it was, what, summer vacation. It was gonna be in the morning. So, came the day of Kim Hart's birthday party. The plan was, we were gonna all get into her car. We had, I think, 3 kids in the front seat, and then 4 or 5. Nobody wore seat belts back then, so she could cram as many kids in there. right? I'm in the back, sitting next to my friend Shelly, my friend Donald, and Ronnie was over there. And then Kim was up front with a few of her friends. So we get into her mom's big giant Cadillac, and she takes off. Now she's a short little woman. She's driving like this. And we're all excited. And we're like, Mrs. Hart, her name was Heidi Hart. We said, Mrs. Hart, where are we going first? And she goes, well, I thought I would bring you guys to Crescent Ridge. And we're like, Crescent Ridge? Anybody ever heard of Crescent Ridge? No? Parents, have you heard of Crescent Ridge? Crescent Ridge, well, that's what I said. Because I had just moved to the neighborhood. I had no idea. I said, well, what's Crescent Ridge? All my friends looked at me like, what? You don't know what Crescent Ridge is? I said, Crescent Ridge is a farm in Sharon. And I said, wait a minute, who's Sharon? He said, yeah, Sharon is a place. I said, okay. So you drive to Sharon, and it's an ice cream place. There's cows there. They make ice cream from the cows. I'm like, what? They make ice cream out of cows? No, out of the cow's milk. The cream from the milk. They make ice cream with it, right? So I was like, okay. And they said, wait till you get there. You're gonna love it. So we go to Crescent Ridge in the big, giant, hot Cadillac with no air conditioner. Windows are down, right? So we finally get there. Everybody gets out. What's your favorite ice cream? Anybody have a favorite ice cream? Just yell. What are you? Chocolate, vanilla, marshmallow. What is banana? Vanilla. All right. What was yours? Cotton candy? Chocolate mint? What's yours? Rainbow sherbet. I had two favorites when I was a kid. I loved watermelon sherbet, and I loved strawberry, especially if it had strawberries in it. So I get up to the counter, and they say, all right, what would you like? All the kids are getting their ice cream. Well, I asked for, good strawberry ice cream. So they hand me this ice cream that the cone is about a regular sized cone, but the size of the ice cream was about the size of your head. Right on the cone. And I looked at my friends, and everybody had a giant, although we ordered a small. If you go to Crescent Ridge and you order a small, they will put on a big, giant top of ice cream, right? So I'm like, this is great. What a great way to start the day. So we get into the giant Cadillac. I'm sitting in the middle next to my friend Shelly, and there's Donald and Ronald. Well, we start licking our ice cream. Meanwhile, there goes Heidi Hart down the road. In the big giant Cadillac with all the kids and the hot air blowing in the car. It's a kind of a car. It was a big, big car back then. Now, what do you think started to happen to our ice creams as the hot air is blowing in the car? It starts to melt. Well, we start licking our ice creams as fast as we could. You're like, right? I'm keeping up. Whenever there was a drip, get the drip. Everybody else is keeping up, except for Shelly. Now, Shelly is a few years younger than us. She cannot keep up. And she's like, she goes, I can't, the ice cream is melting. I look over at Shelly, and there she is. It looks like she's got a glove made out of ice cream. Melted ice cream completely covered her hand, and it was dripping down her arm. And everyone's like, look at it. She goes, I can't. And I look at her ice cream glove, and I could not help it. I just started laughing, because I had never in my whole entire life seen an ice cream glove before. So I'm laughing, and she looked at me, and she was so furious that she took her ice cream and she went, right down my face. Dropped onto my baby blue bathing suit. Brand new baby bathing suit. I was upset. a little upset. But, you know, I kind of deserved it because I was laughing at her, right? So there it was on the floor. After a while, everybody forgot it. So we get there. We get to Rocky Point. Everybody jumps out of the car and they run. First thing, we're going to go to the beach. Heidi's like, we're going to go to the beach for about an hour and then we'll go over to the amusement park. Everyone was like, great. They run out of the car. They head to the beach. But me, I got to get my bag. I get out of the car. I put on my baby blue flippers. Then I get my mask, put it on. I get the snorkel, stick it inside, and I start walking to the beach. Now, oh, good question. Now, the closer I got to the beach, the bigger the ocean got. Now remember, for some reason, I had never been to the beach. I was a city kid. We didn't go to the beach. So the closer I got, the bigger the ocean got. So I was a little intimidated, right? I had never been in the ocean before. But I was ready to go. I was ready to go. I was a little scared. I look over at my friends. They're having a great time. They're already in. Everybody's wet. It's a hot summer day. But me, I go in a little more. But I look good. You know why? Because I got on my baby blue bathing suit, my baby blue flippers, my baby blue mask, and my baby blue snorkel. So I get up to my knees, and I start looking around. And I look over at my friends, and they're having a great time. So then I get up to my waist. A little nervous. I'm looking around. You know, every once in a while you see something moving. I was like, what the heck? But I look at my friends, they're playing, they're not worried about anything. They're having a great time, right? I said, I guess it's all right. So then I get up to my chest. I put my snorkel in my mouth. Yeah. No sharks. Sharks are way, I knew better. But I'm still scared, right? So I finally get up to my neck, right? And, well, that summer, I had kind of just learned how to swim. So I wasn't the greatest swimmer as well. So I put my snorkel in and I start swimming around. And I'm getting a little comfortable. I'm like, this is pretty good. Well, all of a sudden, I see bubbles. Bubbles. Bubbles in the ocean. Bubbles. Well, immediately, my mind thinks of the most vicious thing you could ever think of that might come from the sea. Somebody said shark. Nope. I think of a sea turtle. Well, like a really big sea turtle like this, with 4 flippers and a tail maybe, and a head, right? So I'm thinking I'm going to be eaten by a sea turtle. Do they? That's just the thing that came to my mind. So all of a sudden, I panicked, and I said, I gotta get out of here. There's bubbles, there's a giant turtle in here, it's gonna eat me. So I turn around as quick as I can. And when I turned around as quick as I can, guess what happened? My mask stayed right there. So now, the mask is in the back of my head. I cannot see anything. So I panic and I'm splashing around. My snorkel comes out of the mouth. I can't breathe. I start bobbing up and down. Very terrifying experience. So I go up and I go back down. and I go up. Boom, 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 boom. I go down, and I go up, and I go down. Finally, I go down, and there I was, sitting at the bottom of the ocean, thinking, this is it. I'm never gonna go to Rocky Point. It kind of sounded like this. Well, I look out, and although my mask is facing the other way, I see something coming toward me. Then I start seeing some shimmering in the water, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, wow. And it got closer and closer. Then I started seeing long hair. And then I saw something that kind of looked like a nose and two eyes and a mouth. And then the closer it got, the more beautiful it got. And then, right in front of me was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. And I was like, Well, all of a sudden, she put her mouth on my mouth. I went like this. And then she moved back, but when she moved back, I could breathe. I could breathe underwater. Then she took me by my hand and she started swimming into the ocean. And I looked and I could see as clear as day. And then we saw fish, we saw big fish, and we saw lobsters, and we saw crabs, and we saw whales, and we saw sharks, and we saw sea turtles. I saw just about every sea creature you can imagine. And it seemed like time went on forever.
Is this a real story?
This is how I remembered it. This is the summer to remember.
You said
Well, they were, remember, we went way out. But when I was on the beach, you don't worry about those. So time went by and I realized I gotta get back to Kim Hart's party. And she knew. So she brought me back. And she brought me back. When I stood up, I was at my waist and I could walk. Well, she put something in my hand. And then she turned around and she swam away. Well, when I looked, my friend was still playing in the water. And I said, that was unusual. So I opened my hand, bless you. And when I opened up my hand, I found this. Can you see it?
Can I see it? Oh yeah, I see it.
You see it? What is that? It's a heart. It's a heart-shaped beach rock. And I have kept it ever since.
I didn't get to see it.
You didn't get to see it? Well, I kept it in my hand, and then I just saw this beautiful fin dive into the water and disappeared. Never ever again had I seen a mermaid, except for in stories, in storybooks. I looked over at my friends and I thought, should I even bother? They would never ever believe this story. No way would they ever believe it, because they were over. Nobody even noticed me in my beautiful baby blue bathing suit and my beautiful baby blue flippers with my baby blue mask that was facing the other way and my snorkel, which was on this side now. So I never told my friends the story. But we went to Rocky Point and we had a fantastic time. But that was the very first time I had ever seen a mermaid. So from now on, when I go to the beach, I always look for beach rocks that are shaped like hearts. Anybody ever find any? Well, you got to start looking. It's proof that there's a mermaid out there somewhere. Right? So from now on, if you go to the beach, does anybody here go to the beach? You know, you probably got to wait till you're older, right? Right? On the sand. Well, it comes up on the shore. Like this, the best time to look is, you know how there's high tide and low tide? Like the water comes up, and then when you're at the beach for a couple hours, you look and the water's way down there. Right after the water goes out, that's when you go looking. Okay? That means if you find one, keep an eye out, because there might be a mermaid. We'll see. Maybe. Maybe. Okay. I have another story for you guys. That's the end of that story. Right? Yes. Does it have a beach in it? No, but it has something to do with summer. Yes. What's your favorite? Chocolate mixed together? Chocolate vanilla twist? Or chocolate, you'll either eat chocolate or you'll either eat vanilla?
I usually eat them separate.
Oh, okay. So you say, I would like a chocolate and a vanilla ice cream. You hold one in one hand and one in... Another, oh, wow. Yes. I didn't ask you, what's your favorite? They didn't have that stuff when I was a kid. All right, let me tell you guys another story. And by the way, you guys, you are doing a fantastic job listening. So thank you. That always makes me feel good at a story when I'm telling stories. It was when I have some great listeners. All right, so this story takes place in the summer. And it's about this, let me see if I can tell you the title. The title is called The Man Who Bought a Dream. And so there's this fella, and he lives with his wife, and the man who bought a dream. And he went, because they were poor, but they had a little money, so he was on his way to the market, because it was miles away. And he went with his friend, and they would stop and they would camp in tents, and then the next day they would make it to the market. So they were camping that night. They both fell asleep, and the man, he woke up very early, and he was just kind of sitting there thinking, and he looked at his friend, and his friend was sleeping, snoring with his mouth open. And he's thinking. Well, all of a sudden he noticed that his friend was kind of talking a little bit in his sleep. And then just you could see his eyes kind of moving around. Sometimes if you look at somebody and you see their eyes moving around in their eyelids, can you see my eyes moving around? Yeah, it means they're dreaming when they're doing that. They're looking around in their dream. Well, this guy was doing this, and his friend was watching him. Well, all of a sudden, his friend's mouth opened up, and out flew a bee. A bee flew out of his mouth. He was like, that's unusual. So finally he waited. He didn't want to wake his friend up. And finally his friend woke up. And he had to ask. He was like, what were you dreaming about? So his friend told him about this dream, and it had a mansion in it, and it had a treasure in it. And he was like, huh. He said, I think I would like to buy your dream from you. And his friend said, what? He says, yes, I would like to buy your dream. And he says, you can't buy a dream. He says, yes. Once I buy your dream will become my dream. And his friend tried to persuade him because he knew he was poor. He knew that he probably had the last of his money on him, and he didn't want to take it for his dream. But his friend insisted. He said, no, I insist, I would like to buy your dream. So finally his friend said, oh, okay. So he took the last of his money and he told him that you now may have my dream. So that's how he became the man who bought a dream. So they ended up going to market. He really didn't buy anything because he bought the dream, so he didn't have any money. So he went back home, and his wife was very excited to see him. And she said, so what did you buy at the market? And he said, well, have a seat, I have to tell you. And he told her that he bought a dream. And she said, you bought a what? I bought a dream. And she said, what? Explain to me. She goes, well, my friend when I went with John, he was sleeping and he opened his mouth and the bee flew out, and I thought, you know, that's unusual. And then I asked him what happened, and he said that there was a mansion and that there was a mountain, and where the mountain was, there was a hill, and there was a tree, and there was a bush at the bottom of the tree, and underneath the bush there was treasure. And his wife thought this was the silliest thing she had ever heard. And she was actually pretty angry with him that he had spent the rest of their money on this dream. So she was so mad, she just went up to her room. And he kind of sat there and thought, but you know, he was pretty confident. This was his dream that he thought if he followed this dream, at the end of the dream, there would be a treasure, right? So he got up early the next morning. He told his wife, I'm going off to follow my dream. I will be back. So he started walking, and he walked and he walked. Now he knew that the town that the mansion was with the mountain and the tree, he knew it was in the town of Osaka. Osaka is a town, a little village in Japan, and that's where he lived. So he went to Osaka, and he walked for a long time, and he had brought a few scraps from home, so when he was hungry, he put it in a handkerchief. He opened the handkerchief, he sat under a tree, because it was hot, and he ate his scraps, and then he continued on to the town of Osaka. When he got to the town of Osaka, he asked the people, and he said, well, is there a mansion here in the town of Osaka? And they said, yes. The mansion is owned by, you know, the most wealthiest person in the world, who was this woman. And he said, well, okay. So he went to the mansion. They pointed him in the direction. And the woman's name was Kibo-san. So he went, and sure enough, there was this mansion with a great big door. He went to the door. He rang the doorbell. Ding, ding. He waited. The door slowly opened up, and there was a servant. And he said, well, you know, hello. He introduced himself. He said, is Kibo-san home? And they said, well, she lives here, but she's not here right now. And he said, oh. He said, well, I would like to make a bargain with her, and so I would like to talk with her. Can I meet with her? So the servant said, yes. Why don't you come back later in the day, and you can come for dinner, and you can speak with her. And he said, okay. So he went back to the village, and he hung out, just kind of people watched for a while. Anybody ever go people watching? No. You just kind of sit somewhere on the bench in the front of the library, and you just kind of watch people, how they walk, or how they talk, or what they're wearing, and it's called people watching. You never do that? How about at the beach? You ever people watch at the beach? That's a great place to people watch. No? You guys are too busy playing, right? That's what you do when you're old. You people watch.
I've never heard of people watching.
You never heard? No. Just observing, being observant, right? Well, anyways, so comes near the end of the day, it's dinner time, and he's starving. The last thing he had was the scraps in the shade of the tree, right? So he goes, again, ding dong, at the door of the mansion. The door opens up. Again, it's a servant. The servant comes in, and she says, is Kibo-san home? He says, yes, she is. So he goes, walks down this great big hall, and there is the dining room. The dining room is a great big table, kind of like that table over there. And it's covered with all kinds of food, and it smells fantastic, all the food. And he finally sits down, and he's looking at all the food, but he knows he can't eat yet because he has to wait for Kiba-san to come in. So finally, she comes in, and she sits down, and she introduces herself. And she said, I hear you have a story to tell me. And he says, yes. He said, well, you know, a few days ago, my friend had a dream, and it led me here, and I believe that in your back of your house, you know, he said, do you have a mountain in the back of your house? And she said, yes, I do. He said, are there hills back there? And she said, yes, there is. He said, well, is there a giant tree, a pine tree that grows back there? And she said, yes. And he said, is there a bush that grows at the base of the tree? And she said, yes. He said, well, I believe that under that bush that there is a treasure. And she says, okay. And she's very wealthy anyway, but she really doesn't believe this story. She's just being nice. So they have a nice dinner, and he decides that if she gets some of her servants and helps him to dig, that he will share half the treasure with her. So she says, okay, that's great. They have a great dinner. She lets him stay the night in one of the rooms on the other side of the mansion. And he falls asleep, and he's thinking about, he can't wait for the next morning. Now, as far as Kiba-san, she actually turned out to be kind of although she had lots of money already, she was kind of a greedy woman. And while she laid in bed, she started thinking about this story. And at first she kind of laughed and she thought, how silly. But then she thought, well, what if this is true? What if there really is a treasure in my backyard? Well, she had to find out. So she got some of her servants, she had them grab some shovels, and she went in her yard. And she looked at the pine tree, and there was the bush, and she had her servants dig next to the bush. And they dug, and they dug this great big hole. And she was just about to say, I'll forget about it, when they heard gung, 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 gung. There was something hard. So they kept digging around, and sure enough, there was this chest. And she couldn't believe it. Now the sun is just starting to come up. She had her men pull the chest out from the hole. They opened it up. And when they opened it up, guess what was inside?
Gold.
Gold. Any other guesses? Diamonds, necklaces, rubies, a crown. Well, you guys have good imagination. Jewels, jewelry. Well, when they opened it up, a bee flew out of the box. And the bee flew away. Kind of flew around for a little bit and then flew away. So the woman laughed. She says, I cannot believe I am out here in this morning and digging. So she had her men close the box up, put the box back in the hole, and rebury it. Well, Kiba-san woke up that morning and he was so excited. This was the day that he would find his fortune by following his dream. So he got up. She asked him if he wanted breakfast. He's like, no, let's just go. Let's go. So she said, okay. So they went into the backyard. He looked, and there was the sun coming up over the mountain. There's the mountain in my dream, he said. And then he looked in front of the mountain, and there were the hills. There are the hills just as I imagined them to be. And there was a great big pine tree. He looked down at the base of the pine tree, and there was the bush. So, Kiba-san again had the servants dig, and they dug. Well, boom, 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 boom. The man was so excited, almost jumping with joy. He says, that is the chest, it's the treasure. So sure enough, they pull up this box. He said, this is it. He gets down on his knees, he opens the box. What is inside of the box?
Jewels.
Nothing. Did you say nothing? Well, wait, what's your name? Owen? Owen is right. When he opened the box, there was nothing inside of the box. He couldn't believe it. He said, wait, this is not right. I am in the town of Osaka at a mansion. There is the mountain. There are the hills. This is the tree. This is the bush. There is the box. There is no treasure. He couldn't believe it. We put his head down. He thanked Kiba-san, and he left. He left the mansion, walked through the center of Osaka, didn't notice a thing because his head was down the whole time. He didn't even know where he was going to go because he knew his wife was upset at him. But he decided, I'm going home. So he walked, and when he grew hungry, he had nothing to eat. So he kept walking, and he kept walking. And when he got home, his wife saw him out the window. And she was so happy to see him. She ran out and she hugged him. And she said, you have been gone so long. And she said, you cannot believe what happened while you were gone. And he said, what? He said, well, you were gone, and a couple of days went by. And then I started hearing this noise up in the attic. So a day went by, and I said, oh, it's just noise. And then another day went by, and then I said, I couldn't help it. So I went up in the attic, and when I opened the door to the attic, out flew a bee. It flew around a little bit, and then it went out the door. Well, then out the door rolled a gold coin. And it rolled down the stairs and went onto the floor. And then out rolled another gold coin. And it went down the stairs and onto the floor. Now she told him this story as they were walking into the house. And when she opened the door to the house, he looked inside of the house, and the house, well, the floor was covered with gold coins. He couldn't believe it, but yet he could. So, he now became the wealthiest man in his town. He collected all the gold. It took him days because it was so much. So my question to you guys is, what do you think happened? What do you think happened? Since the Kiba-san was so greedy, she didn't get the gold. Yes. What else? What else do you think? That's a possibility. What do you think?
Like when he was there, I think he was trying to build a nest, and then like he flew out, and then he went back in, and then they carried it over there, and then he stayed there until he came out.
Does anybody believe that it's a magic bee? You think it was a magic bee? Right? Obviously, it was some kind of magic bee. One, because it flew out of the guy's mouth, and then it flew out of this box that was in the ground for who knows how long. So I think the bee was probably the keeper of the treasure. And whoever the dream belonged to, the bee made sure that that was the person who would receive, as long as they believed in their dream. Who didn't believe in their dream? The guy who first had it. He believed in the dream, so he followed his dream. Anybody have a dream? Somebody should stand up and say, I used to have a dream. You have a dream? What's your dream? To become an astronaut. You make sure you follow your dream. That's a good dream. Make that dream come true. And I think you told me that last time I saw you, so I think you're going to be an astronaut one day. What's your dream? To become a fairy? You follow that dream. Because you know what? I never thought that there were mermaids, really, right? And look what happened to me. What's your dream? A bat? Oh, a vet. Phew. That's a good one. You know what my favorite thing, speaking of bats, my favorite thing, but you can only be out in a big field. You ever go out a little bit later than now, and you look up in the sky, and you will see bats, which kind of look like birds, but they move around. Birds kind of glide through the sky like that. Bats kind of move around like that because they're catching mosquitoes and bugs in the air. So you'll notice, and you watch them, how do they catch, who knows how they catch mosquitoes, tiny mosquitoes at night? What do they use?
Their big eyes and their smell.
They use their smell. Yeah, they use their big ears, and they make a sound with their mouth like this. Ready? And if you listen close enough, so when you're out there, sun's got to be a little bit lower, sun's going to be gone, the sky's going to be purple. You got to sit there, maybe in your field, lay on your back, and listen when you see the bats come out, and you'll hear. That's the sound that they're shooting out. Now the sound shoots out and it hits everything. It hits trees, it hits, what else is out in the woods? Trees, leaves, and little bugs. Birds, if they're out. And it bounces back and it goes into their ears. And that's how they know where little bugs are. And it's able to catch it. It can see it using the sound that it bounces off and back into the ears. It helps them, it creates a picture in their brain. And that's how they're able to catch these little mosquitoes. So, when you go, bring a tennis ball with you. Okay? You bring a tennis ball, you watch the bats, right? When you see a bat and it comes kind of close, take your tennis ball and throw it up into the air. Because the bat it'll shoot the noise will bounce off, it'll see the ball, right, come back, it'll make the picture in its brain, and it will see the ball, and it will think, because it's moving, that it's a mosquito, right, or a bug, and then it will swoop toward the tennis ball, but then it will realize, it's just a tennis ball. True story. It will dive at your tennis ball, and then it will say, you're not fooling me, that's a tennis ball. Huh? You'll get the tennis ball will come back. It won't catch it and take it off. Because it wants to, you could play a bat, would play with a ball. There's a little joke in there somewhere. But it's a true story. But you have to go out and you have to be patient. It's probably after dinner, and the reason why it's a tennis ball, you can do it out if you're near your house. You could do it. A tennis ball is safer than something really hard. So make it a nice ball that you can throw up into the sky, and it will dive toward the ball. That's one of my favorite things to do in the summer, sometimes. All right, one last quick story. You want to hear it? Yeah! All right. So, has anybody been to the zoo? Okay, all right. So, there is this elf. This is a quick story. You guys can tell this when you get home. This is elf. And this elf has a pet, and it's a pet ant. And he loves this ant, so he feeds it all the time. He'll feed it scraps, and if there's something on the dinner table that the elf does not like, he will put it in a bowl and give it to his ant. And the ant will eat anything. He'll eat off the floor, he'll eat out of the bowl. But every time the ant eats, it gets, well, it licks its lips and does a little dance, and shakes his hips, and it gets bigger. But the elf keeps feeding the ant, and the ant gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So time goes by, and the ant gets so big that he cannot even fit inside the elf's house anymore. So now the elf decides that he's got to bring him to the zoo. So he brings the ant to the zoo. And people go to the zoo and they feed the ant its favorite food, which is peanuts. And everybody knows that the ant came from an elf, and so they call it the elephants. Yeah. So think of that next time if you go to the zoo and you're feeding the elephant peanuts. Remember, it used to be an ant. No. The end. Thank you guys. You guys were awesome, awesome, awesome. I will be back here about a month from today, right?
August 22nd.
August 22nd.
August 22nd at 7. And earlier in the day is our end of the summer celebration outside. So we'll have a lot of fun stuff back there.
So hope to see you guys. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Look for some Heart Rocks at the beach if you make it to the beach. Go to the zoo and feed the elephant. And enjoy. Go to Crescent Ridge. Go to Crescent Ridge. If you don't know where it is, it's in Sharon. Look it up. Go to Crescent Ridge, and you will see the big, giant ice cream cone. And don't get in the hot car and look at. Eat it there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for saying thank you. I cannot wait to see you in your astronaut suit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need to tell one thing. I have a dream, but I don't want. I have a
Tell me.
dream, but I don't want to become it. It's my first dream ever. When and Dad were there, they're gonna have stickers on it, and they were storing it, and it looked weird, so I had to cover my eyes.
You covered your eyes?
And I had the letter there, and then I was like, oh God, it wasn't there anymore.
So it was a dream?
You're watching Medfield TV, community shows.